button now. And so all of you are on camera, and welcome to all of you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of us. That's plenty of people for a good poetry meeting. And it's also 1 year since we started our meeting, so it's quite an important occasion. Things like this don't go on for that long, they peter out, and to have made 1 year is a little bit of an achievement, keeping everything in proportion. In this world, 1 year of a poetry circle is a small achievement. But we've been enjoying this. I've been enjoying this, and we've learned a lot, and we've made new friends, and we've had here and there our eyes open to new subjects and new ideas. And that's the idea, that this should perk us up, make us think out of the box, think of new perspectives on life. And as we have in our charter, we come here in learning mode. We don't know all the answers, and that's why this place is of some worth and of some interest, because we hope to make progress each time. Well, without further ado, I'm going to post the first poem by Rahul, because he missed out the last time, and then we'll have everybody else's poems of all those who've sent us poems. So I'm going to post up the poem submitted by Rahul, which we can have a quick read, and then we'll discuss. Okay, I've sent it, and you should have received it. It's called Step Brothers. So we have an ecology poem from Gardner Rahul. It's a topical subject, and it's a big subject. And here we go. Rahul, please recite, and then we'll discuss.
Step brothers, we live hated, despised by you. Your blades have cut us. Fires have burnt us. Chemicals have killed us. Yet we are back each year to try and sprout next to the pets. Frozen ones that live sheltered and have become weak from all the caring at your hands. Their source you clean and store, diseases you cure, nutrition needs you meet. Left on their own, they don't stand a chance. We were equal siblings for millions of rotations, up until you played the villain and enslaved our brothers, modified their genes, invented new types, drugged them and our mother, fed them with supplements, hormones, enzymes, acids, et al. To suit your whims and needs. The day of poetic justice is not far when karma catches up. You meet your nemesis, and the earth is ours once more.
Okay, quick questions to clarify small points. The poem rants against the pets, that are inside the house from the point of view of the grass, nature outside, but aren't crops also cultivated, mutated, changed by man? I mean, is this the weeds that's speaking, or is this um, the agricultural growth, the wheat and the all the plants that we grow who are speaking?
No, these are pets are the crops that we grow, and it's the weeds that are speaking, the weeds that we don't want
Okay,
alongside the crops.
only the weeds that are speaking against both
Yes.
the crops and the pets and
No. The
everybody.
pets are the crops that we have petted. Like, we
Okay,
have,
well, they could also be the pets that are inside the house of man.
no.
Oh, it's only the pets are there.
That
Okay,
maybe it is confusing, but yes, I didn't mean it that way. It's probably
okay,
just the crops. It's just the crops that we have petted or we have as our favorites. Like we would grow wheat, but we don't want to.
okay. So this is a rewilding poem. It's a poem for rewilding the whole earth.
No.
For letting, it's a poem for letting the weak, well, I wouldn't call weeds weaker, but allowing other things to exist besides just the one. Perhaps I could take it further and say, well, even human beings, they are there, the favored and the less favored. And the favored get to survive because they are always the ones who are petted and nurtured and taken care of.
True. See, it's a counterpoint. It's a counterpoint. It's something that, is seeing the world from the point of view of those who are despised and hated and who are probably deemed as useless or not having much use. Although even in a wheat crop, we have bathua that grows that we eat, yet it's never grown as an agricultural crop.
Why did I get the feeling that you were talking a lot about, all the way, I guess, vegetables and fruits have been mutated and tampered with genetically so much that you have all these brinjal BT and all these strange types of apples, which are all identical looking and stuff like that. I got more, the general impression I got was more that you were talking about the way generally plants and fruit have been tampered with, so much that they've literally lost their originality.
Identity, yeah.
Yes, it's a poem that, is the weeds, mourning how their brothers or how their brothers have been made into their stepbrothers, how they have been mutilated, they have been modified, drugged, whatever. Even the earth has been drugged with all sorts of chemicals that we keep putting into the soil.
Okay, but Rahul, we've got to take you on straight away, or take on the point of this poem straight away. It's impossible for humanity to live without some kind of tampering with agriculture to grow our food and to survive. So this point of view of the weeds, one just has to say, well, my dear weed, you can have all the rest, but we've got to eat our food and we need to grow our crops and we need to change them and so that they're more productive and so on. I don't see your argument, my dear weed. We've got to survive as well.
True. There's no argument. It's just a counterpoint. It's not as if, it's just that, I've played the devil's advocate in this. I also kill weeds all the time. And yet they come back. They're defiant. They come back every year, every crop, they're back. And in their point of view, they were equally endowed. The earth was equally theirs, yet they are just, removed with every possible means that we have, we humans have. Yet they're sticking it, they're trying to survive. So somebody had to say something in their behalf. I thought I'd say it. It doesn't have a conclusion.
Perhaps they too have their place in the whole ecosystem.
They do, as we're discovering, there's so many different uses for hitherto unknown uses for these weeds, as so-called weeds. We find so many medicines in them. That there's one sort of weed that is used to make jaggery, and it is foraged in the wild. I mean, it's looked for in the wild. It's gathered from the wild and then used for making gold. So there's an industry that, so there's a set of people that survive on just that. And similarly, so many jadi booties. We find there's one creeper that grows here. It's called Giloy. And now it's become fancy because Baba Ramdev has started making with it and to control temperature. But it grows in the wild here. Anybody falls sick. In fact, if it grows on the neem tree, it's meant to be even more effective. It's more bitter if it grows. It's a scavenger. And you cut a little bit of it and put it into hot water and have it, and it's meant to cure fevers and things.
Well, last year I'd gone to Rudapur and to somebody's farm, and believe me, when we say weed, I mean the actual weed that one smokes or eats or whatever. It was growing like wild.
Yes,
And
marijuana.
Yeah. And this friend of mine tells me, she says, every time we try to kill it, it comes back in double force.
Yes,
you just cannot get rid of it.
What is this,
Yes.
marijuana? You can't.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
grew in such abundance.
Sorry, Kumkum, you're
Plus-
trying to come in. You've been raising your hand.
Yeah, I had raised my hand. So you, I may have missed part of the discussion because I was sending a message to Rita. But you're talking about weeds, but there are also native seeds which have been pulled out of the market because of the GMO seed. So is it the native seed? Because the native seeds are not identical, right?
No.
It
It's
is
only weeds, as in stuff that we don't want growing in our fields alongside.
But you don't want, like Norman Borlaug and all, a genetically modified rice that didn't fall and it was upright and had longer roots, etc. So the farmers don't want the original rice, right? That was taller and fell.
Productivity, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So is it the native seed? Because when you get native seed, each seed is different from the other one. But the GMO seed, they're identical, right? So
Exactly. That's the point that the weeds are saying of their stepbrothers or their brothers, that you have modified them, you have mutilated their genes, you have done everything possible to suit yourself, your needs, to match your needs. But the thing is that ultimately, the last paragraph, when he says, "Ki once karma catches up with you and you meet your nemesis, we all be once again, all over again, and the earth will be ours."
because I think even the farmers who were doing all the organic farming and all are weeding, but they're trying to maintain diversity.
Everybody weeds.
But they maintain diversity by not using GMO seed, right? Because when you use GMOs, genetically modified seed, it is not resilient, right? It'll do very well in a particular nutritious climate, particular rain, etc. But if you have native seed, every seed is different. So some seeds are going to survive no rain, and some seeds are going to survive too much sun. So there's a lot of strength in the diversity. But if you use GMO seed, there's no diversity, and they do very well as long as they're in a lab kind of condition. Otherwise,
exactly. That ultimately what we have done is weakened our crops.
Yeah.
They need very special conditions, whether they're genetically modified, whether they're hybrids, the selections. The real native seed, as you calling them, or what we say open pollinated seeds, they're the tough ones. They've survived. It is from them that we have taken genes and we have modified them, and we've arrived at something that will give us more food. But then that's exactly the point of this poem, you know, that it's decrying all that. It's saying that you messed up the earth, of course, the environment, but the soil and the medium in which crops are grown, that's been messed up with all the chemicals that we keep putting into it.
Okay, just to close this discussion, because we've had plenty of time on the poem, but I think we can all agree that this whole thing was due to a lack of knowledge. See, we did not know how we were messing up the earth, how fragile the earth was. It took quite a lot of science, and it was only in the 60s and 70s that people came up with real proof and evidence that this thing was happening. And since then, in pretty short order, almost everybody has now agreed, except kind of very oddball people like Trump and so on, that we have to live in harmony with nature, and that the planet is fragile, and that nature is mighty, and it can come back and bite you like you've never known. So we've learned our lesson, but we did not learn it maybe fast enough, but there was a lack of knowledge. And now it's precisely this knowledge that will take us out of this situation, which will give us harmony with nature, protecting nature, and keeping it as a treasure for the future. So I don't think we should blame science or genetics and so on as the villains in all of this. They are also going to be our future.
True.
Well
Okay,
said.
let's move on. Next poem.
No. How about saying who wrote it and stuff like that?
I think it's pretty evident I wrote it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but you have to give. We have a system. We have a protocol.
Yes, I know.
Okay?
Yeah, you're
The
right.
closing thing has to be that the person who recites should say, yes,
Yes.
I wrote this poem. And I'm sorry that I always keep writing farming-related poems and poems. But I think that's something I know well, so I keep writing on that.
No, and that is, yeah, and you're there, you know, on the spot.
Okay, next poem by Vivek, or submitted by Vivek. Please take a look. Change of subject.
I'm on my phone, so when I go on WhatsApp, my video will automatically go off. Sorry about that. And I just had one quick, sweet little observation to make. All eight of us are wearing eyeglasses today.
We're wearing what? Didn't hear you?
Eyeglasses, my dear.
Eyeglasses, acha.
Specs, all of us.
Oh dear.
To break
Except
the mold,
one-
I can take off mine.
There's one new lady has joined us without specs.
Who?
Is this Rita, or who you invited, Kumkum? Somebody? Oh, it's Rahul's photo.
Rahul.
Rahul's daughter or something, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not,
Okay.
I was reading the poems on the same phone, so I ended up putting my camera off.
Okay. Yeah, Vivek is reading from his phone, and
Sorry,
Raj
yeah.
as well. And people are reading the poem, and I'm going to read it as well.
Yeah. What?
Nice.
Simple. Shall I go ahead?
Yes, okay.
Take love for granted. Assume it's in the kitchen, under the couch, high in the pine tree outback, behind the paint cans in the garage. Don't try proving your love is bigger than the Grand Canyon, the Milky Way, the urban sprawl of LA. Take it for granted. Take it out with the garbage. Bring it in with the takeout. Take it for a walk with the dog. Wake it every day. Say good morning. Then make the coffee. Warm the cups. Don't expect much of the day. Be glad when you make it back to bed. Be glad he threw out that box of old hats. Be glad she leaves her shoes in the hall. Snow will come. Spring will show up. Summer will be humid. The leaves will fall in the fall. That's more than you need. We can love anybody, even everybody. But you can love the silence, sighing and saying to yourself, that's her, that's him. Then to each other, I know. Let's go out for breakfast.
Wow.
Very
like the
funny
poem.
poem. Very funny poem you're giving us, Vivek.
I didn't find it funny at all. I thought it was a lovely one.
Oh, well, those of us who fight with their wives day and night and are fed up, and, it's a very nice reminder of how some people could and should live. But take us through.
Harbans, meatballs and rice is waiting for you.
Who's waiting for me?
Meatballs and rice.
Oh, I agree. Quite true. I have to be grateful for all these mercies. But no. I'm exaggerating. This is bending the stick, this poem, in favor of the simple pleasures of life, of married life or of daily life, and not to be highfalutin and have silly ideas about how wonderful love is and swoon in love and think, oh my God, all that kind of bullshit. Cut that out, get down to brass tacks and take it slowly and simply. We get this point. What more can we say about it? Who would like to go against this poem in favor of highfalutin love?
Highfalutin love is all very well when you're walking maybe down the Champs-Elysees or something hand in hand, but come home and you need to have your grub. That's when you want everything taken for granted. It should be there.
Right. No, highfalutin love gets you into trouble. It goes up and down. You have passion, then you have sorrow, then you have all kinds of stuff.
But you mean to say when you take people for granted, that doesn't happen? Passion is out of the window and all that?
Take people for granted is another aberration. But taking people for as they are and just, that's what the poem is saying. Take things as they come. Don't expect too much.
Accepting each other.
Accepting each other.
There's a great comfort in that.
Yeah, and only beating each other up once a week.
Or when you get beaten up, don't complain. I mean, the poem is saying if you get beaten up like by your wife, don't complain. Just that's how she is. She beats me up once a week.
If it's not Sunday, it may be Monday.
But
Now, try answering this question with yes or no. Why do you always beat your wife up on Wednesdays?
Answering yes or no?
Yeah.
On Wednesdays. Why do I beat her up only on Wednesdays?
oh God. Zipped up. Can't even answer that. Raj, such a tough one you've given me.
Very, very tough.
It's a mathematical question. It's given as an example. It's a question of logic. It's given as an example that there are questions which cannot be answered with a yes or no.
Of
Yes,
course, right,
you're
right,
right.
right, right, right. Yeah, but coming back to this poem and the discussion around it, um, well, we do know this. I mean, we understand this after we've gotten over the highfalutin part of love. Then we mostly realize that love and daily life is mundane, and we just have to be grateful for small pleasures. And then what goes wrong? Why do people still get into trouble? Who are they that don't accept this or are not satisfied with this? Or is even this a very hard thing to achieve? Maybe it's hard to achieve this mundane peace between each other.
You see, if you're married, you just married, there's no such thing as taking each other for granted. So it's obviously talking about a long-term relationship.
Hmm.
So to work yourself till there, it's by itself a great feat. So after that, yes, you should take each other for granted because you worked at it for whatever, maybe 15, 20 years.
Yeah,
I also think that what the poem is trying to say, actually, I mean, to me at least, this is what it said, is that we make too much of a big deal in life about some certain ideas that are there in our head that have come to us from generations that, oh my God, love is so divine and so, you should bow at its altar, and like whether it's just love or obsession or love for, or praying to God or whatever. These are all these big terms where we're ethically and morally, I guess, just forced to tell ourselves that these are very larger than life concepts. And uh, so I think what this poet is trying to say is taking a little dig at it and saying, just take it easy, man. It's not all that big a deal.
Serious.
Yeah, just aram karo, maze karo, and just yeah, basically don't make a big deal out of these concepts necessarily. If you feel like make it, but you don't need to. I thought that's what I read out of this poem, actually.
I have a question though.
Sure.
What about sex?
What about it?
Um, just be happy with missionary position once a week and just take it for granted. Don't expect too much. Is that what we should be
Harbans,
doing?
Harbans, I'll be very honest with you. Almost, I would say, I don't know statistically, but most people are quite unenamored by sex at the end of it. I think it's such a hyped up thing. People believe it like, every time it's got to be. I'm sorry, we're getting into something quite strange now.
No, it's
But
okay.
everybody,
Actually a very interesting discussion. Yeah.
yeah, because I guess you're made to believe, again, this is like that word that I was talking about, love, is that, oh my God, sex is like the ultimate superlative and, blah, 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 always gives you amazing pleasure. But that's not so. Ask anybody in this room. I'm going to ask you, Harbans.
No, don't ask Dion.
I'm going to ask you.
Don't ask Dion.
I agree. I raised the subject. I should come up with it. No, let's be honest about it. We have our sexual needs, and they vary between the two partners. One person can want more than the other. And the problem here is that, okay, the poem is saying just be happy with what you get. Don't expect too much. Don't hope that you'll kind of, have multiple orgasms and all your fancy desires and fantasies will be satisfied. Just reduce your expectations and take what you get. Now, what if that take what you get is not enough? And that's my question. But to answer your point, I take what I get and I'm very happy.
I want to say something. I want to say something.
G.
I don't think this poem is about sexual orgasm.
No, it's not. Of course not.
No, Kumkum. I think he was just stretching. He was just stretching the point a little bit.
It is about love, and it is about love, and what is love. And I think
Kumkum, he just wanted to bring in sex some way or the other.
I agree with you, Raj. I agree with you totally.
Well,
Okay.
it's what makes the world go round. Okay, bolo
Well,
kumkum, bolo.
It's about
I don't
time
know
the
if it
world
makes the
stopped
world go
living
round, but
like
it just
rabbits.
does keep the, you know, keep the population steady, at least, if not growing. You know, you've got to have sex if you want to have progeny, because you're not going to live forever. But this poem is about love.
Yes.
I think of what I understood and what Vivek was saying is that have an understanding of what love means. You know, love is wishing, if you love somebody, you want that person to be happy. That is love, right?
It's one part of it, yeah. But you
It
also
is.
want to be happy yourself. But I agree, making the other person happy is a big part of love, yes.
It is. Well, if you love somebody, you want them to be happy,
Yes.
right? So that's what
Yes.
it is. But take love for granted. Want people around you to be happy. That's what it is.
We're trying to see how to put this into practice and what are the obstacles. That's what we were trying to discuss. And we were raising the obstacle. I mean, another obstacle would be that people have, they are horrified by certain things the other person does. Another obstacle is uh, distrust, and things get said and done the wrong way, and then trust breaks down. There are obstacles to this living in harmony with low expectations. I mean,
When you're accepting things and taking people for granted, you do not necessarily uh, stoop down to the lowest common denominator and say that is the one we're going to live with. They may be living on a very high plane for all you know. Maybe having sex 7 times a day instead of 7 times a week. How do you know? Maybe that's what's for granted. That we
okay,
expected to have sex 4 times a day.
Rahul,
Don't you? Sorry. Yeah.
Rahul, please.
So, when Vivek said that it's about taking it easy, like, not making it such a huge hype, I think that's probably what nailed it for me. I'll recount an analogy. Where I read it, I don't remember, but it was talking of love, the noun, and love, the verb. Now, this poem is about simplifying things. It's taking away the focus from the noun to the verb, which is what that poet or that writer wanted to say. That when we do things, whether it is, bring it in with the takeout, take it for a walk with the dog, wake it every day and say good morning, then make the coffee, warm the cups. All that is about doing things. So, and it is also saying that don't hype it so much that it's saying that it is bigger than the Grand Canyon or the Milky Way or the urban sprawl of LA. That's the noun. I saw it from that point of view, that just simplify things, take it with the flow, take it easy, take it for granted, like the poem says.
And to carry this point further, don't you all really believe that if you were to prescribe to these notions of love, etc., being like, oh my God, like I said, the ultimate thing, ultimately these lead to disappointment. And I guess what the poet is trying to say is that, if you don't prescribe to these notions in that real fanciful academic kind of way, you probably also will live a more fulfilling life and be able to enjoy these little pleasures like warming the cups or making your coffee. You would probably enjoy all this process more. It won't disappoint me. They won't disappoint you. I think the big thing is also this. We all get disappointed. Like, you raise that subject about sex or, about love or whatever we're talking about. Most of us end up in life pretty disillusioned with all these concepts. Don't you think so?
I
mean,
agree.
all
I
of
think
it. Yeah.
it's pleading for having low expectations out of love. All the Bollywood films you've seen and all the romance novels you've read, put those out of your mind and live a very mundane married life.
No, Rahbans, you're putting it in a
No,
very,
not
when you
at
use
all.
words like mundane, it makes it sound
Mundane,
like they're
yeah.
boring. Yeah. It's not boring. It's okay to make your own coffee and enjoy yourself.
I feel it's very reassuring when you
Yeah,
can wake up
why
know that
mundane
everything
and
is fine with your world.
yeah, why mundane and beating wives on Wednesdays or missionary positions? It doesn't necessarily have to be that.
Okay,
That's one
I
extreme.
mean by mundane, no
It's all
ups and downs,
gentle.
no ups and downs, no highs and lows. Take everything as it comes.
Mm.
Have
That also, I don't,
have
I,
the
I don't
strength in your
agree with
marriage
that.
or
I'm
relationship.
not reading.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
don't,
Raj is trying to come in. Raj.
yeah, I don't see. It doesn't. Okay, mundane for one person is excitement for another one. All right, and that
No.
varies. All that matters is that you be able to handle what the other person throws at you. Okay, and take it with however you need to. I did that for
Equanimity.
44 years. So, so I mean, it's in the larger context, it's accepting life as it is, being able to accept life as it is and take pleasure in what is pleasing.
The word is equanimity.
Nice word.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. That's the word that came to my mind when I heard the poem first.
But I'd love to hear what Chitra and Dion have to say after
Yeah, Chitra is
listening to
being
all
very
this.
quiet.
Honestly,
Yeah.
no, just
She's
as a
full of
point view.
wisdom. She's full of wisdom, Chitra.
No, I have another take on this. You can take love for granted, but it's also necessary that you should be comfortable with the other person and make the other person feel comfortable with you. And I don't know whether Vivek is referring only to marital relations or to love. There are all types of love. It can be between mother and son. It can be between anybody. It can. So are we restricting ourselves? Of course, at the end it says this is her.
It's a couple. It's a couple. It's a married couple.
In the end, it looks like it's a couple. But relating it to other relationships, I think taking things for granted can be also counterproductive in some cases. You should let the other person know, as Kumkum said, that the other person should know that you love them. And you can exhibit them in different ways. Without hyping, as you said, I mean, it's not necessary to exaggerate your love. And you need not put it in words as such. It's just how you behave with the other person, how you respect and love them. So I think that this is a bit limiting this aspect. But of course, it is one aspect of relationships, which is very true.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank
Dion.
you.
What about Dion? We want to have a few words from him.
Honestly, I just love this poem. It is so amazing. And my mind did not even go to the sexual side. Thanks for that, Harvanta. But really, I mean, it's quite simple. It's like when you walk through a door, make sure you pack all your expectations and leave them outside. It's like literally telling you that. And it's like the part about Grand Canyon and everything. It is so amazing because some people don't like their love to be too loud. They don't want you to make a big deal out of it. Some things are very delicate, and there's a different way to process it out. And then the ending comes. Oh my God, I just love it where this part that's him, that's her, and to each other. I know it shows such a time jump to a place of comfort, where they're talking about the person that they thought they were gonna be with. But then I think I might be lost in it, but that's what I took out from the ending. I really love this poem. It is very amazing. It is very modern and timeless,
Yeah.
and I love it. It's really amazing.
I've just sent you guys the poet's name.
Oh,
That is
thank
the
you.
first
Thank you, Vivek.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, next poem has also arrived on your phones. Take a read, and we'll move on from there. It's submitted by Raj. Where are you, Raj? I can't see you. Okay, Raj,
Yeah,
your poem is
I'm here.
your submitted poem is on the phone.
Okay. Tell me when to go.
Yeah, we'll give it's a quite a difficult, serious poem. Let people have a good read, and then we'll go.
Very nice, lovely. Hmm. Should we?
Has everybody read the poem?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay, Chalo, Raj, start.
To the emergency ward. Son and I set forth on the road to emergency. He drove silent and grave. I have never seen this father. He will recover. I will be brave. Storm tossed, clinging to reason remaining, I arranged for the near future. Before my reason ceases to function, myself I leave in your sole care. Carry me on your broad back, my son. Speak Tamil. No one else need comprehend. My voice broke and I could not speak. All answers were in my mind. Arrived the answers to paper committed, the psychiatric resident visited, beautiful and compassionate, triggered in me a spasm of lunacy. Spoke Hindi the whole time, recited Rahim's couplets, denied I was Muslim, recited Forte ilieto a morte Andrei, claimed speech was getting better, quizzed the doctor, recited pi to 8 decimal places, performed impromptu additions, subtractions. The nadir of my life was upon me. To this, to the rescue, habits of a lifetime, a disciplined calm, a desire to maintain the vestiges of dignity.
Okay, this is a very grave poem about a very grave subject, about mental breakdown, and it's giving it to us from the inside. And there are the details, and there is the overall story. Who would like to say something, bearing in mind that this is a serious subject? Okay, who wants to say something about this from themselves, for themselves, has some experience of this kind of thing?
Well, maybe not this kind of thing, but a feeling of helplessness sometimes when you are beyond being able to take care of yourself. And you do not want to, like, it's very obvious, you don't want your child to feel that you're disintegrating in front of them. But actually, you are, but you're trying to hold on to every sensibility of yours to try and get through that particular moment. And it has happened. May not be, as I said, in that way, but somewhere where you suddenly become so helpless that, yeah, you need to be carried on your child's back.
I understand you, Vinay.
Yeah, we
I
try to
understand.
spare putting our weight on our kids when we are when we feel we're breaking up. But in this poem, it's the other way. The person, the speaker, is actually forced to put his weight on the son to take him through. And he's lucky to have such a son. What else are we getting? What else are we getting in this poem? We're getting breakdown. We're getting the son taking the person to hospital. We're getting at the hospital a nurse, a compassionate person, and we're getting an inkling of the actual text of the words that go through the person's mind. And there is in there the idea that habit persists. Old thoughts and old memories, learned ideas persist, and the person is grappling to cling to them to maintain a sense of dignity and presence in the real world. So we're getting this important idea that dignity remains, is a kind of anchor, is keeping the person together. The importance of dignity in the middle of delirium. There's delirium and there's dignity.
I do
don't
have a
see the calm. I don't see, he says a disciplined calm. But as you read the description before, there isn't a calm. There's, he's reciting couplets in Rahim's couplets in Hindi and denying his religion. Where's the calm? It's
He's trying to maintain the calm because there's no calm. At that time, he's in panic. So all he can think of is ways of getting back. Of ways of just getting back his calm. Sorry, please carry on. Did I interrupt someone?
Yeah, Chitra.
Chitra, did I interrupt you? Sorry.
So I said the calm came because the old habits came to his rescue and restored the discipline calm. So in the end, he was able to maintain a vestige of dignity. All that went before was part of his nervous breakdown, mental breakdown. But in the end, he was able to rally his senses and clinging to, maintaining a vestige of dignity.
so his habit was to have dignity. It was habitual.
Yeah, the habit of dignity.
and there is something I'm very doubtful about, and I wonder, like, is the poet so unused to? So see, in the poem, when he visits the psychiatric ward, and in the next line, the poet says beautiful and compassionate, and then he goes into a spasm of lunacy. Does this imply that the poet is not used to such a like being treated beautifully and compassionately, that triggers him to have the spasm of lunacy where he ends up speaking in different languages and unable to answer? And is that happening to the poet? Did that trigger that spasm of being treated so kindly in that psychiatric ward? So I'm just like curious about it.
I think your point is very good, Dion. It's in the text of the poem that it was her beauty and compassion that triggered in me a spasm of lunacy. And then we get the spasm of lunacy, and then we get an attempt to rescue, attempt to find some kind of stability by discipline and a desire to maintain dignity.
I think Dion is right. He probably wasn't used to be treated with compassion, and in that state, it sort of triggered his.
Yeah, but the surprising thing is that her kindness triggered lunacy. It kind of encouraged his lunacy. It kind of made him feel that here at last I can pour it all out. Maybe that's what it means.
I
And
think yes,
maybe
the
he didn't know how to
kindness.
react to it. Like, sorry.
Dion, what were you saying? Sorry.
I was saying maybe he did not know how to react to that emotion because maybe he's been distant from his son and and getting to have the interaction with a stranger, and maybe that's what the fact that he can't comprehend it and react to it, maybe that led to the spasm of lunacy, as the poem said. Sorry, Vinay, you were saying something.
No. I was just saying sometimes compassion from a stranger makes you come out with what you're holding back, perhaps with your own family, even at times.
Absolutely.
Now, is like before my reason ceases to function, is that the same as lunacy?
No, I don't think so, because lunacy is madness, and I don't know, I can't relate the lunacy to wanting to wanting compassion. I'm a little confused on that point.
Because he starts off by saying, before my reason ceases to function. And then he says that, I was wondering if he was already in sort of a...
Yeah, he was cracking up already. He was cracking up already.
I guess a pre-lunatic spasm.
That is why he was going.
Chitra, can't hear you.
No, I said that is why he was being taken to the emergency, because he was already on the verge of breakdown, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Actually, I was also thinking, I mean, leaving aside this particular episode that describes what all we've been talking about so far, I guess for any one of us who has had the experience of being put on a stretcher and wheeled towards an operation theater, and
For whatever reason, yeah,
for whatever reason it is, if you're heading to, and there is that momentary lapse of reason, or there is a hark back to strange ideas that come through your head, and almost always that if you're going to go under anesthesia, you might not even come out of it, somewhere. Yeah. So there is that feeling of knowing that you could be experiencing a near-death experience type of thing. So I guess there is this barrage of all sorts of emotions that comes through your head. So I guess in some what kind of way, if I were to look at this poem also in a very general kind of way, I do think that a lot of us who might have experienced surgery or whatever would have experienced a part of this thing, and not necessarily the lunatic or the lunacy part of it also.
Sometimes you can get so nervous, say a pre-operation or something, you can get so nervous that it's almost like a breakdown at that time.
Yeah, it's...
Okay, I think we've got as much as we can from our discussion. We'll let Raj conclude and then we'll move on. So Raj, if you want to say a few more words.
I do want to say, okay, so start. See, this is the second poem in what I plan to be my asylum series. And the first one was called The Breakdown, which I presented as the last poetry meeting. Okay, now that detailed my actual nervous breakdown. So, in a little background, see, my son tends to be very solid and responsible, and that is why I, rely on him. Okay. So now there are also, see, what the fundamental thing that I found happening that happens is that when you are in such a state, you have one is your perception is changed as to what you are saying and what is actually being said. the perception differs. Okay, and and I'm typically able to handle that basically because of scientific training and background, and I've never been a hero to myself. All right, okay, and then let's see. There were questions about. Uh, so the report on okay. Next was the question about the psychiatric resident. She was a young lady from. She was probably in her 30s or something. She was a young lady from Pakistan. All right.
Ah,
Yeah. Yeah. And so I have always been a great fan of women. All right. Okay. so so she came, and for some reason, I felt really comfortable seeing her, and so I recited Rahim's dohe, that is, "Hey Rahim, dhar dhar phirahi kake lagu pai, amar beli bin mool ki pratipalat hai tahi, Rahiman aise prabhu hi taji khoj phirahe kahi." Okay, and I also next breath. So she thought I was Muslim because of the Rahim. Okay, so I denied I was Muslim, and then because I'm an opera fan, I recited Forte Lieto Morte Andrei. It goes on. Actually, I can recite the whole thing. All right, and and see, just before this, my voice was actually breaking, and I was having trouble saying things. So there was a delight, a joy of having recovered the voice. All right, and so I went ahead and did all the other parts that eight value of pi to 8 decimal places, which I can do, and did impromptu additions, subtractions, whatever. So that's what the whole thing was about. Okay.
okay. So the fact that the nurse, a psychiatric doctor, was not was a Pakistani and beautiful lady has a big is an explanation of much of the poem, especially the part, the Hindi and the Tamil languages, because you are you speak many languages, so your background, your battery of words of languages has several languages, and that was played upon by this, we can say, Indian Pakistani lady, a homely figure speaking to you in a homely language. And that's part of this, why it triggered. I mean, there's an explanation there of why it triggered the lunacy, or it allowed you to suddenly open up. But we can't get into that. There's an explanation of a rational explanation of why this whole thing triggered, why that lady's presence triggered a certain flow of words that came out from you for the better, because they opened you up. Okay, I'm afraid we really have to stop here, because otherwise this is just
one sentence.
Bolo,
Just one
bolo.
sentence.
Yep.
Yeah. So the neurologist report said he was overly familiar with the MD.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. So maybe you said something more risque with her, or that was nothing was actually said. Why did they say such a thing? Why did
I don't recall saying anything. I treated her like my daughter. Okay, like a daughter I would have had. See,
So Raj, this is not related to the poem at all, but my curiosity. So you have memory of the whole incident, and you remember everything that you said. It's and now when you look back, do you think it was okay, or it shouldn't have been done?
yeah, I have an excuse, Kumkum. See, all my marbles weren't there, right? So I have that excuse, and of course, see, the thing is I don't live life dwell in the past. It's gone, right? So So in one of those times, see, I made a explicit request for sexual intercourse and sexual favors, and I called my best friend a jackass. Okay, so those things happen. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do? You can't go through life just dwelling on those things.
No, I didn't know all that, because just reading that you joke, you're always playing on words. So if all you did was this, that you recited Rahim's couplet when he found out somebody's from Pakistan, I would think that's just Raj being Raj. I didn't know.
No. This was much more serious than Raj being Raj.
Okay, yeah.
This was a breakdown. This was delirium. But he has recovered sufficiently to put some order in all of this. But probably not 100%, because many things must have happened that he cannot recall. We cannot. In delirium, you don't capture everything afterwards. Things come out in such a flurry that you don't remember everything afterwards.
Yeah, no,
but anyway,
absolutely.
Rahul, Raj, we'll have to leave it there.
Thank you.
Next poem is contributed by Kumkum. It's a nice short poem. And away you go. Have a read.
Read.
Should I read it?
Yep. Okay, away you go, Kumkum.
Where roads are made, I lose my way. In the wide water, in the blue sky, there's no line of a track. The pathway is hidden by the bird's wings, by the star fires. Oh, what happened?
By the flowers
of the wayfaring seasons. And I ask my heart if its blood carries the wisdom of the unseen way.
Wow.
So it's a very, very deep philosophical teasing poem. And summarize the gist of the argument, Kumkum. Paraphrase it.
I think he's talking about the innate goodness, the innate wisdom that is there, and how it can be masked by rules and pathways and maps, etc. And he wants to know if he can bring out that innate wisdom and goodness.
See, there's a play here. It's saying something like this, that where there's a clear path, I lose my way. Where there's no clear path, in the sky and in the sea, where the path, if there ever was one, is covered by the stars and the birds' wings and flowers, there I ask my heart if the blood in my veins will find the unseen way. Where there is no path, will my intuition, the blood in my heart, will it find a way, the unseen way, in the sea and the sky? Where there's a road, I get lost. But can I find my way where there is no way? So it's a very paradoxical poem.
A difficult one, if I may say.
It's a very clever poem, foxing us. We don't know what he is trying to say, and we don't know where we are. And but it's intriguing and it captures our attention. But I agree with you, Kumkum, that the emphasis is on the last bit of finding the wisdom of the unseen way. That's the punchline. Looking for the unseen way in the middle of this world in which we live.
It's, yeah, I mean, may I? Because
please, dear, please,
like,
please.
Right from the beginning, the first line is, it explains everything. I mean, I feel so connected to it. Like so it's like when we guys have a timeline of our own, there's a universal timeline of how you should be, when you should, have a job, then get married, when you should be getting promoted on your job. There's this whole timeline. And it's like the poet very well says it in the beginning. He's like, or she is like, I don't know if there are like roads, because I want to go with my own intuition and make my own way. And that feeling of getting lost when you see all the other people going the same road, like from here to like Gurgaon, there's this one road, but it's like there are many other roads. There are many other roads to go there. It's just you have to find that road, and you can find it through your blood coursing in you. And it is amazing. I love this poem. Oh my God, I said it before as well, but then it's pretty. Did you like this, ma'am? Because
Dion, you're giving us a very good explanation, but the middle part of the poem, how do you read that? The sea and the sky and the stars and the flowers, put that into your interpretation. How do you figure that? What is he trying to say there? Paraphrase that.
Yeah. I'll take my 1 minute right now.
Okay, think about it. Anybody else? Anybody else wants to come?
Well, right at the outset, I mean, there is this whole feeling of like a free spirit, the spirit of adventure and moving against the tide of discovering new things. Not like, as everybody is saying, not necessarily the chosen path. It's also a little bit like that Robert Frost poem, which I'm trying to remember, about the two paths and, the known path and the unknown. The road less traveled. Yeah. It sort of, it reminds you of that only. And but like you rightly said, I didn't immediately catch it, but yes, it's totally like a very paradoxical thing. It's like, the way we all human beings are, we never know, is it right? Is it wrong? I mean, is this the right thing I'm doing? There is always this question lurking at the back of all our minds. And I think that is that's the beauty of humanness. Not knowing 100% what you really want.
I'm trying to figure out this bit. In the wide water, in the blue sky, there is no line of a track. There's no path. The pathway is hidden by the bird's wings, by the star fires, by the flowers of the wayfaring seasons. Now, what does that mean? The pathway is hidden by the bird's wings, by the star fires, by the flowers of the wayfaring seasons. What does that mean?
By nature, by the cycles, the flowers are going to come and then they're going to die. There's wisdom there in nature, that they come and they sprout and they die. The birds.
Why do they hide the way? Why are they hiding the way?
Because maybe it's not for everyone to see. Like, it's not everyone who figures out to go to make their own road, right? So maybe it's like you have to have something to get there. It's not for everyone. It's for the one who takes the leap of faith, or has the courage and the gumption inside to do it, or the vision within to find that road.
Wait, dear. No, you're jumping something there. It's not saying it's not for everyone. It's saying in the wide water, in the blue sky, there is no line of a track. There is no path. In the other, where the road was clear, like you said, take the road to Gurgaon, go down the career way, all that is clear. But in this, where I am, where in the wide water, in the blue sky, there is no line, and the pathway is hidden for me, but for anybody, by the birds' wings, by the starfires, by the flowers, by beautiful things. See, in this wide world of the blue sky and the white in the water, there are all these spectacular things: stars, flowers, birds, and they hide the way. Now, what does that mean? That means that
Well,
there's a distraction. There's a distraction.
the birds are
Right.
migrating, right? The birds are migrating, and there's the inner wisdom that they're
Ah,
migrating across a path, and they've done it for centuries. The butterflies are going, and there's no track that you can see, no map that's been laid down. There's the inner wisdom, and they follow it. And
I
so he wonders at his own inner wisdom, is it going to lead him or her forward?
I
Right?
like what Harbans sir said. Like they might be a distraction. It's like you have to go beyond them to, to discover it. Ne?
but I think Kumkum's explanation may also be better or simpler. That
Yeah.
in the sky there are birds doing their thing. They stop you looking. In the fields there are flowers that stop you looking. And in the sky there are stars that twinkle and they stop you looking. They're doing their own thing, and there's no clear way. And that's when you have to. So, I mean, the birds will not give you an answer. The stars will not give you an answer. The flowers will not give you an answer. They hide the way. You have to look in your own heart and in your own blood to find the wisdom of the unseen way.
But they are giving you an answer that there is wisdom, there is innate wisdom in all these
Ah,
That's
things.
what I
I think there. I think I disagree. I think it's saying that these things hide the way. The text says the new way in the wide water and the wide sky is hidden by these birds, stars, and flowers, and
I,
because of that, you have to ask your heart to find the right way.
I feel that the birds and the flowers, they all seem to know the way.
They know
It's
their
already,
own way.
yeah, their own way. It's already pre-written, and the same way it is actually pre-written in your own heart as well. The way you want to follow is just for you to find that where that is written inside you.
That's a possible explanation. Yeah.
Yeah, the birds and the flowers and all, they follow a certain pattern. It's just that it's nothing you can see. You can see this road,
Yeah,
right? With
yeah.
intersections. And so he wonders if there's a pattern for him to follow, the inner wisdom, like the birds, that he cannot see them, they're covered. But
Which is a
there.
pre-written thing inside your DNA, perhaps your heart, which you have yet to discover, but it's already there. The voyage of discovery needs to happen.
Okay.
I think in the depths of our heart, we know what is there, what is the truth. I think that is the punchline of this poem, that through the beautiful birds and everything that distract us, the way may be hidden, but in the depths of our heart, the poet asks, does the blood that flows through your heart, does it know where the way is? And I think I have read this poem somewhere long ago, and if I'm not mistaken, it's by the master Rabindranath Tagore. And I think this was the gist of the poem.
Very clever of you, Rahul. You're allowed to guess, but we were waiting to hear about this later. But I'm surprised because mostly Tagore poems are boring and long and they go on and on. But here's a nice punchy poem by Tagore. Okay, I think you have to give me time to have my little poem. We'll stop here, please, Kumkum, may we?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay.
She has to reveal the name of the poet.
Ah,
Yeah.
Rabindranath Tagore. Bolo, Kumkum?
It is. Rahul has read it. It's Rabindranath Tagore.
What's the, yeah, okay, cool.
He wrote a big series called The Fruit Gatherers, and there are verses in it. There are sub-poems. I haven't read The Fruit Gatherers, but I have an anthology a reader by Tagore. And
All right. You might want to look up "O Serene, O Free."
Look up what? Sorry?
"O Serene, O Free."
I didn't get that.
Oh,
So,
serene,
a
free.
Tagore poem that starts with "O Serene, O Free."
I'll send yours in the meantime.
I'm sending it. It's coming. Well, it's over to you. You've got it now. It's on your phones. It's another short poem for you.
Okay, Harbans.
Ready?
Yes, 48 words. So have been read in 48 seconds.
Did you count them? Did you count them? Are they really 48?
Well, so it says, I'm taking your word for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, away we go. It's time to find a place. It's time to find a place to be silent with each other. I have prattled endlessly in staff rooms, corridors, restaurants. When you are not around, I carry on conversations in my head. Even this poem has 48 words too many. What are we getting in this poem?
Can you
Dion?
read it once? Can you
Dion?
read it once?
Oh,
Harbans, read it once more.
okay, read it once more. It's time to find a place. It's time to find a place to be silent with each other. I have prattled endlessly in staff rooms, corridors, restaurants. When you are not around, I carry on conversations in my head. Even this poem has 48 words too many.
Well, it's the short that get us, you know. The long poems are easy to understand.
Rahul, repeat, Rahul, I didn't catch what you said.
I'm saying it's the short poems that get us. They have more time to interpret because too much has been said in too few words.
Quite true. She said a lot in...
And it's almost like the same poem as being taken for granted or taking people for granted. It almost kind of echoes that theme.
Similar, but it's more hard-hitting. I think this poem shuts you up a little bit. It says, look, just there's nothing more to be said. Go home.
Yeah.
You know.
48 words. I've said it all.
Yeah.
No, but this is very lovely that it's time to find a place to be silent with each other, which is a very lovely, again, is a very taking for granted the other person. You can only be silent with a person you love or you are very familiar with. You cannot be silent amongst people, you know, a crowd. I think the first two lines are very lovely.
Yeah, but wait, it says that, but there's a refrain in it. We've talked too much. Time to shut up. It's not, we've got to find a place to be silent with each other, and it's lovely to be in harmony with each other. It's saying, rather, we've talked too much. We just got to shut up.
No. It says, I've prattled endlessly in staff rooms, corridors, and restaurants.
Yeah.
I need a space with you, just you and me, and quiet.
No. I've been talking to you in all these places.
Yeah.
I've prattled endlessly in staff rooms, corridors, restaurants. Even when you are not around, I carry on conversations in my head with you.
Even, you've added the even, there's no even in this 48 words.
But it's implied.
But it's not there.
but it's implied.
Okay.
I'm putting in to make my point, because that's what's being said.
But that may not be necessarily the point.
No, if you look at it, this poem is saying we talk too much, we're too much with each other.
I think it's about giving space to each other.
Space, you're right.
I don't think it's...
There is an even in the poem. There is an even in the poem.
There's one even, but I put in two. I put in two.
Conveniently. You put in a convenient even.
But I make my point. The point being that the message of the poem is not some kind of virtue of how lovely it is for two people to be in one quiet room and commune with each other, and that's the best way to be, and take each other for granted. No,
I got it.
This poem is saying, my mind keeps on buzzing and talking and prattling on to say pointless, useless things. Time now for us to sit down and not say anything to each other. Try not to say anything to each other, because what we have to say is useless, stupid.
I shut up.
Rather than...
I shut up and
say that anyway.
No, I was going to say, rather than say that like it's allowing space, because allowing people space in a relationship is almost like it's a mutual agreement, and it's not a bad thing to say that once in a while. But this is like sheer acrimony. This is like strife. This is like, you shut up, and I mean, I don't want to hear anything, and I don't want you to. I don't want to.
No,
I don't want anything from you, and nothing from me.
You got into my head.
Vivek, it's not only you must shut up, but I too must shut up.
That's what I said that, yeah. It's both of us need to just shut up.
We both need to shut up. And I think with that comment at 7...
Hold on.
I was going to shut us all up, but
Sorry,
Raj
has got something.
Basically, it's not you. It's I have been talking nonsense. I'll shut up.
Yeah, I've been talking nonsense and I will shut up. I need to shut up, but I think we need to be quiet, it says. So I think it does mean you too should shut up.
Well, I think I don't think it's rude or shut up. I think
I agree. We're exaggerating, Kumkum. We're exaggerating.
It's meditative, to be in the moment, because we are making stories and we are prattling and carrying on. Just be in the moment and, just...
So it does sound like a complaint.
No, really.
Now when I read it again, it does sound like as though the person is complaining. It's okay, bahut ho gaya, you've been in my head long enough, you carry on and on talking and I carry on and on talking. About time we kept quiet with each other.
Right, yeah.
The language of silence.
Right. But don't you agree that that's what we should say right now, and shut up and go home and be quiet with each other?
But first tell us what the poet is. Who's the poet?
It's an Indian lady poet. Her name is D'Souza or something. Eunice D'Souza. Ms. Eunice D'Souza. She's a poetess from Goa. And I will send you her name straight away so that you can look her up. And if you find anything about her, let me know as well. For example, is she still living or has she passed away? I don't know if she's a living poet.
Okay.
It'll be interesting to know.
On that note, we say good night from here.
Good night to everybody.
Good
It's
night.
late for India.
Bye.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's been a lovely evening.
Okay, good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Harban.
Kumkum, kya bole?
This month we've got to get a reminder a little bit earlier.
With all these the dates, etc. But okay, it happens.
Okay. Allow me to close the meeting then. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
See you in August. Bye.
Bye.
Harbans.
Hanji?
Yeah, she passed away in 2017.
Oh.
What did you say, Chitra?
Eunice D'Souza passed
Uh-huh.
away in 2017.
2017.
She was born in 1940. In Pune.
Yeah, so she was our generation, a little bit older, but so sadly she passed away. Okay. When I first read this poem, she was a living poet, but that's too late now. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye, Dion, Raj, and Kumkum and Chitra. Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye.